ARPGs are in a pretty good spot right now overall, whether you play Path of Exile 2 or you play Diablo 4. Some of you are playing Diablo 2, some of you are playing POE1, Last Epoch, Grim Dawn, for the few of you that are still playing that game. I just wanted to come on and make this video just in case any of you are still in that decision space where you're thinking, maybe you want to play this game, maybe you want to play that game, which game is for you? This is going to be more of a raw, unscripted, lightly edited video. We have the new 0.5 patch coming out for Path of Exile 2. It's going to be the biggest patch in Path of Exile history. Not just Path of Exile 2 history, it's the biggest patch in GGG's history, and it's only going to be toppled by the 1.0 release that's happening later on this year. But with that being said, I know a lot of people find Path of Exile to be really confusing and complex, and they prefer a game like D4. And I know a lot of you are sitting there already typing D4 bad, Blizzard bad, shill, whatever, say what you want. Diablo 4 is still a game with tens of thousands of players that come on every day and play the game just like Path of Exile. It might not have as much of an audience as Path of Exile does, but it's still a healthy audience, and it's still a game to be considered for a lot of people. I think what it truly comes down to is this, and this, you can just watch this part and stop the video and then you'll know everything that you need to know. Diablo 4 is really good for getting your feet wet in the ARPG space. It's simple, it has just enough build complexity that you can try out multiple builds, but it's easy enough that you can load up the game after a long day of work, play for an hour or two, and feel like you've progressed significantly with your build, or just, you know, have fun and do things in the end game and not really have any stakes. The game is wonderful just to relax with. It's a very chill ARPG. If you've played Diablo 4 and you found that it was lacking, or you're just somebody that likes more of that complexity, they like more of that build diversity and being able to truly make a build around almost any skill or any mechanic that you like, Path of Exile 2 is going to do that for you. It's the more complex game, you know, you could almost say it's the more grown-up game where you need to invest more time. So for me, a lot of it just comes down to time. What do I have time to play, and what do I want to feel while I'm playing the game? I think that there's a space for both games. There's a space for all ARPGs. I personally have swapped around between Path of Exile 1, Path of Exile 2, Last Epoch, and Diablo 4 just within the last couple of months because their seasons are staggered. And that's another thing I want to talk about really quick is the seasons. A lot of people are confused about seasons and why they're even in the game in the first place. And it's simply because ARPGs are not meant to be these forever games. You're not meant to play Path of Exile 2 or Diablo 4 or Last Epoch every single day until the next update comes out. You play the season, you essentially quote beat the game, and then you move on. You play something else, you get yourself refreshed. It's a really nice cycle to go through. I know a lot of people build up their character, they spend a lot of time, it takes them a long time to get through campaign, maybe they finally get to endgame, and then the season's over and the new season starts, and they're thinking, why would I put in all that time and effort if I just have to restart my character and start from zero again if I want to play the new content? Well, sadly, that's the genre, that's the game, that's how it's played. If you find yourself not liking that, I don't necessarily want to say that ARPGs aren't your game, because ARPGs are extremely fun, but maybe there's something else that fits your play style that doesn't have a reset, or you're just gonna have to end up being okay with being one season behind and potentially not having mechanics that the season had, because seasons in these ARPGs allow the game developers to add fun, new, crazy things to see what makes it into the next installment of the game. But okay, enough rambling on. Let's just talk about Diablo 4 for a second. For those of you who are thinking about Diablo 4, it looks like a cool game. Maybe you played it back in season 2 or season 3 and you dropped the game because, I mean, let's be honest, the game was not good. The game was not good for a long time. I, like many others, bought the game before it came out, paid my $100, and ended up just being extremely disappointed in the direction that Blizzard had taken the game. But season 11 was probably the best season that I had ever played of Diablo 4. It felt like an entirely new game. It had crafting mechanics, it had the paladin, we got it early. There was just a lot of fun to be had, the Spiritborn. The only issue that I know a lot of people have is that you have to buy the DLC, and it is a requirement. If you want to play the new content, you have to get the DLC. So if money is an issue, honestly, just stay away from Diablo 4. Maybe if you're looking for something light, something where you only have to pay once, Last Epoch, probably the best choice if you're not looking to get into Path of Exile. Exile, but you do have to pay that extra $40 for the DLC, minimum $40 if you're looking to get into the newest content of Diablo 4. But if you think about it, I mean, a couple $100 into a hobby, it's not the worst thing. There are plenty of people that do it for other games. I have put multiple hundreds of dollars into Path of Exile over the years through Path of Exile 1 and 2. So to me, I mean, the argument of, oh, you have to pay for a DLC, it's really a non-starter for me and for a lot of people. But if it's an issue for you, just don't play it. Don't get into Diablo 4. There's so many fun things about Diablo 4. I think it's great for your time. If you're someone that only has a couple of hours a week to play, then Diablo 4 is probably going to be your best bet. You can get in, get through the campaign. The campaign is honestly, I mean, it has its ups and downs, but I think overall it's the best story in any ARPG, hands down. I don't think you can really argue whether D4 has the better story, just more put together. The base campaign was pretty great. Vessel of Hatred, I did not like. I think that whole section could have been taken out, but the Lord of Hatred storyline really tied everything together nicely for me. I think it was really good. It makes you feel some things towards the end, and I think it ties up the story really nicely. And then you go from the story into the end game, and now you have war plans, and you can plan out what your end game looks like. You have end game skill trees, kind of like you do in Path of Exile, and you level up these different end game mechanics to allow more rewards and different types of enemies to spawn and all the different difficulties and stuff like that. And then we also have torments now, to where you can go from torment 1 to torment 12, torment 10 being pretty much where I capped out on the game. The juice just wasn't worth the squeeze after that, because I felt like, well, if I was going to put in this kind of time and effort, I might as well play Path of Exile. So that's why I am now just waiting for Path of Exile to drop later on this week. Cannot wait. But talking about that, let's go into what Path of Exile 2 brings to the table. Maybe it's for you, maybe it's not, but let's just go over a couple of the points, right? I think one of the biggest things is it's only $30 to get into early access. If you're willing to wait until the end of the year when it fully releases, it's free. It's a free game. You're paying for early access. I feel like a lot of people maybe don't understand that, but when you pay that $30 for early access, you're also getting $30 worth of currency in the game to spend on cosmetics or, the little loot boxes or whatever, or stashes or anything like that. So you're basically getting your money back immediately, money that you would potentially already be putting into the game. So it's $30, but it's free. I mean, let's be honest, right? The game has been in early access for 2 years now, a little bit longer than they had initially planned. They've stated that the game is getting ready to be released for the end of the year. So we're going straight from 0.5 to 1.0. And speaking of 0.5, this update is supposed to be the largest update in all of GGG's history. That means that Path of Exile 1 and Path of Exile 2 has not had an update of this size until 0.5. And the next biggest update is going to be 1.0, even bigger than the update that we have now, which is crazy to think about. We already have all of these different ascendancies and classes. They're all fun. Druid shapeshifting really changed the game for me. It actually made the Diablo 4's Druid just completely lackluster for me. I just couldn't go back to that. In 0.5, we're getting some new ascendancies for the Monk and the Huntress, and those seem really, really cool. I cannot wait to play Martial Art Monk. It's going to be incredible. But if you're thinking of whether or not you really want to play Path of Exile 2, I think one of the biggest draws to the game, and probably the one thing that drives a lot of players away, is the build diversity, right? The amount of skills that you see on the skill tree, I mean, it looks like a cluster of just the craziest nodes and paths that go from here to there, and you don't really know where to go. I think people see it and they don't actually look at other people explaining what the skill tree is, so it looks confusing. Like, you almost have these predetermined paths that you have to take, and not necessarily that you have to take, but that you would take. You can't travel all the way around and get all these different nodes. You have, I think, 100 and something points that you can put into the skill tree. I think it's 106. You're probably only going to get 70 points before you end up moving on and waiting for the next season. That's what happens for a lot of people. I think most people don't even get through the campaign. I know a lot of people, personal friends of mine, that they just like to play the campaign because it feels nice, and then that's it. They stop right there. But I think that's going to change with this new 0.5 update, because we're getting massive changes to the end game. And if you're someone that has a little more time to play these types of games, you're able to invest maybe a couple of hours a day, or you're somebody that maybe you'd still, just like the Diablo 4 person, only have a couple of hours a week, maybe like an hour or so after a long day of work. You can still make huge progression within the game. You're probably going to be stuck in the campaign for maybe a week and a half, but once you get into Endgame, I mean, those maps, like they end pretty quickly. If you're the type of person that likes to make their own build and you see, oh man, they have, like, for me, I'm thinking, and I'm probably not, don't hold me to this, okay, but the new Monk Ascendancy has these illusions that you send out and you channel, and you can put any skill into that channeling skill. So in one of the examples that they showed a werewolf monk doing, I think it was a ice claw or something, where it was sending out a bunch of different wolves and hitting it with the claw. I think it'd be super cool to have like the bear and use the bear and channel the bear and do like a stampede or something. Maybe, I don't know, we'll see. But the beauty of Path of Exile 2 is that you can do something like that. You can think up, man, wouldn't that be cool? You don't have to like min-max everything. You don't have to be number one parser, blah blah blah, whatever. You can just do what you want to do. So on top of all of that, there's, you know, trading, you have all the Atlas tree stuff, you have there's gonna be a bunch of new mechanics, there are bosses every which way that you look. The only issues that I personally find with Path of Exile is that it's really not alt friendly. If you start with a character and you get them all the way into endgame, and let's say you wanted to start in a completely new character, completely new class, completely new direction, you have to restart the campaign. You have to go back through the campaign and do it all again and then get to endgame. And now your atlas is shared, so you're able to continue on your mapping from there, but you have to go through the campaign. So if it took you a week and a half to get through campaign, potentially you're going to be having to spend another week and a half on that character to get through campaign. So it's not alt friendly unless you're the type of person that understands the game well enough to make some twink gear and then just power through, or you have a friend that's able to power you through. That's probably about the only instance where having an alt actually makes sense. For me, I think it takes me typically 2 or 3 days to get through campaign, maybe 4 if I'm going really slow and not playing, you know, every single day because, you know, I'm editing a video or something. And that's not hard to do again with, you know, an alt character, especially if I'm choosing an alt character where the build is already optimized because somebody's already done it. So that's something to think about. But I think when it really comes down to choosing an ARPG, you have to think about your time and the play style that you enjoy. D4, for better or worse, really is a dad game. It's the game that you play on a long day of work. Maybe you have kids, maybe you have a life outside of just playing video games where you want to get on for an hour, maybe late at night or right before work or maybe on a lunch break or something, and just play the game. That's what D4 is really good at. The only real issue is that there's no pause feature, where Path of Exile 2 has a pause feature. As long as you're staying solo, you can just straight up pause the game. It's probably one of the more dad friendly mechanics of Path of Exile. If one of your reasons for not playing is thinking like, it's just not casual enough for me, like I have kids, like I can't just I'm fighting a boss and I can't just stop, you can't. That's one of the greatest things about Path of Exile. You can pause it at I think 99% of the time. There might be one boss or maybe a couple of encounters where you can't pause the game, but if the kid's crying in the background, you click pause and you're done. You can come right back to the game. You can pause it for hours. I've done that. I've been on a lunch break, played the game for a little bit, paused it, came back home 5 hours later, and then continued on with my run. So I don't know, there's a lot to think about. I think you can get the bang for your buck out of either of these games. I know I didn't really talk too much about Last Epoch or Diablo 2 or Grim Dawn or anything like that, but I would say if D4 is looking too slow and Path of Exile 2 is looking too complex, a really good middle ground is Last Epoch. Last Epoch is made by a bunch of guys that played Path of Exile 1, loved it, wanted to take their own spin on it, and that's Last Epoch. And I've had a ton of fun in it. I've put hundreds of hours into the game. They're really doing something special over there. I think their crafting is probably one of the better crafting of any ARPG. They're kind of lacking on, maybe I would say, the end game. They've had a couple of great updates in the recent months, though their updates are a lot slower than Path of Exile 2 or Diablo 4. So I think those are 3 solid choices. Depending on the way that your life is going, the way that you want to play, you just need to look at those and say which one resonates with me the most. If I had to give a personal recommendation, play Path of Exile. Path of Exile 2. Honestly, it's tons of fun. It might ruin other ARPGs for you if you start with it. If you've dabbled in any ARPG at any point in time, Path of Exile 2 I think is in a great spot right now. Even with 0.4, I think 0.5 is going to be incredible. I'm going to be starting out with a martial artist monk. I'm not quite sure exactly the way that I'm going to play it, but I know that I'm going to start with that. So with that being said, I appreciate you guys listening to me ramble on. I don't know how long this video is going to end up being. Right now I'm looking at 21 minutes 45 seconds, probably a lot shorter than that, but yeah, hopefully you guys like this more raw unscripted version of video from me. I'm not quite sure how many of you are actually going to see this, but or even get to this point in the video, but I appreciate you, and I will see you guys in the next video.